And it is that time again. It's the Tile Happy Hour. Welcome to the show. This is the show where we talk about anything and everything in the tile stone industry. We do get off on tangents sometimes, but that's never my fault. It's always the fault of my co-host, John Tedesco. Welcome, John. How are you doing today? Are you having a good week?
Well, I'll respond to your comment. I'll say guilty as charged. I've been known to not be short on words, but especially when it comes to tile stone, glass, LVT, all that stuff. Love it. Love being here with you, Craig, every week. This is another week that we're talking about our favorite subjects, and it's all the above. Anything in the industry we love. Why do we love it? Because we're passionate about it. We believe in the product category.
Pays the bills.
It pays the bills. And we really want to, as Craig says, not just selling or installing, it's kind of like educating, right, Craig?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I love. What big part of what I do day in and day out is kind of teaching others about tile, how not, and some technical trainings. And we just grab that and throw it onto the World Wide Web with the Tile Happy Hour. And that's no matter where you're watching from. If you would, John loves to see where we're watching from. We had somebody from Spain watching them one time. So drop that in the comments, whether it is on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. I don't know if X used to be Twitter. We haven't gotten our account set up on Match.com yet, but I'm sure we'll be there too. I don't know. But wherever you tour on the internet, we're probably there. And so drop us a comment. Let us know where you're watching from. And let us know what topic that you want us to talk about. And ask us questions. We'll be glad to answer them live on the air.
Yeah, well, speaking of questions, I don't think we have time today, but we got a whole bunch of questions from the last few episodes. We're getting them. We don't even keep track on where we're getting them from. We get direct messages. We get some emails.
Maybe we should do a whole episode with just questions.
Yeah, maybe we'll put all those questions together, and we want to talk about them, but then it's kind of, we have like a focus today on a particular topic that we want to get at. But you do see our hashtags at the Tile Nerd Army, at John Tedesco. We're on all the social media channels. Do let us know that you're watching. Send a hello, drop a note. And if you know somebody that you think is dynamic and very, that other people may want to hear from, let us know, because we are booking out the year. We have a whole bunch of guests already booked. We'll be bringing them on. We'll be announcing them, and you'll be seeing them on the Tile Happy Hour. Industry people, people that are related to the industry, and
astronauts.
Really exciting. Astronauts, exactly. So we're going to be talking about a product today that I love, and it's a product category, and everyone knows that Craig is more on the technical end. I'm more on the design, the product end, industry end, and together that's why we make a good team. And we're doing this Tile Happy Hour every week, bringing it to you. And Craig and I just love chatting about products, and glad you guys could join us and listen in. So there's a category of product that has always been popular, but it goes up and down in popularity through the decades. And
so you're telling me this is an old category?
It's an original category. Original. It is, it's one of the OGs in the tile world, and it's called Terracotta. And Terracotta.
That sounds very...
it sounds
not
Italian.
American.
Yeah.
I thought it was Spanish. Is it not Spanish?
I know terracotta to interpret as baked earth and terracotta, and I know in Italian cotto is the word, so maybe terracotta is more Spanish. I know terracotta as being an Italian word, but maybe you're right.
I don't know. I just wonder where it initiated from.
That's a great question.
Yeah, I'm gonna find out.
You'll ask AI what he thinks. you know. And for those of that, AI, it's a word and it's 2 letters. Anyway, so I would say that they're taking clay out of the earth. It's really tile 101. It's clay and it's water and it's fire for the most part. And
Mesopotamia.
And if you could spell that, that would be great.
It's modern day Iraq.
Oh, that is pretty cool.
That's where some of the earliest uses of terracotta have been.
Yeah. And the Zeely tile, which was the original type of tile, really was a terracotta. I guess that's been glazed. Maybe.
Yeah.
So basically, it's what we consider a crude product, and we don't mean that in a bad way, right? But just in a technical way, and we'll get into that. And I think Craig will probably touch on the technical aspects of this product, meaning like the hardness, durability, porosity, because that impacts his world, meaning how to install it, how to make it look good, and how to protect it for the future. I want to talk about style, right?
Style.
Yeah.
I've been accused of not having much, but
yeah.
So awesome.
I would love to see our website. Yeah. So there's a great little video there showing it as clay, and that's obviously a real terracotta. There's some.
So it's really just mud formed and fired. And,
right.
I mean, is there anything else to it?
No, I mean, it can be made just really, really basic, and you let it dry a little, and then you fire it. And sometimes I know some of the tile made in like Mexico is called Sotilo tile. That sometimes they would actually bake this out like in the field, like out in the sun.
Yeah, in the actual sun. Yeah.
Right.
And, so, what is there? Is there a composition of clay that?
I think it has a lot of iron. I think it's clay that's iron rich, and typically you think of terracotta, you think it as of red after it's fired. I don't think I've seen. This is called greenware when you see it not fired, but not for the color.
Right.
But that's interesting. I think I've always seen terracotta as being a red body tile, and so Craig, if you do have an authentic terracotta tile or Sotilo tile from Mexico, what's one of the things that you could be surprised with when you open a box and you go through it and you get like a little mark and you're like, oh, that's definitely cool. What could that be? Any thoughts?
I'm not exactly sure what you're saying.
So I'm probably explaining it wrong, but you have like an impression of a fox or a chicken actually in the clay. That's like a stamp of that this is natural, because you have this out in the fields drying in the sun, but before
it's like putting your initials into concrete.
Exactly. Or it's like fossilized, right? You find something with a fossil. It's actually a very young fossil, I guess. If your chicken steps on your terracotta and they fire it, right? It's kind of a fossil. Right. So that was always cool. But in the Northeast in the United States, there was a time where the terracotta fell off a lot more than on the Western states, because a lot of the Western states have a lot of influence from, Mexico and Southwest style and Sedona. So there was a time recently where terracotta was like completely void, and now it's back.
Now I'm thinking about kind of some modern tiles, and I go back to my commercial days of quarry tile. Is quarry tile made to be the faux terracotta? Do you know if that was the purpose?
That's a great question. There's not many people I have tile nerd conversations with other than you, Craig. So this is the first time that question's been posed to me, but I will answer that because I have an opinion. Yes, I think
so.
I think terracotta quarry tile is like the CD as opposed to the 8-track tape, right? So it's still the same thing, but it's done in a different way, a little better. How is it better? The clays are maybe a little more refined, a little not as crude.
Factory kind of
blended,
pressed, and
I think they're curated. The clay is curated a little more, not as much as a porcelain, definitely not.
Correct.
And from certain regions of the country, don't have a terracotta type clay. It's more abundant than some of the white clays. And then it's fired at a higher temperature. Well, sometimes it's pressed, where it's or extruded. So
that's
as
true
opposed
too,
to made by hand. So real terracotta is often just, as you saw in that video, kind of just made by hand. So that's good. And I don't want to use the word bad, but it's good and bad. So the handmade gives it a certain look, but it also, you can just tell, you can just imagine how much pressure a human hand could put, as opposed to like a machine that's going to extrude the tile or,
I would assume they're a quarry tile, apples to apples, probably quarry tile is a little more dense than terracotta.
It is a lot different. And
well, I don't know. I thought about that because I remember when I started in the industry, in where I'm from in the Southeast, you don't see a ton of terracotta, but almost every commercial kitchen is a quarry tile, which looks very similar to terracotta, especially if you get the red. So I figured I'd ask you because I knew you'd know.
Right. Well, the reason for it is, you would never have a terracotta tile in a commercial application unless it's an aesthetic in a Mexican restaurant, let's say. But back of house, as we call it, back of house in a restaurant is what the consumer doesn't see behind the bar, in the kitchen. And they use a quarry tile primarily because it's durable. It's kind of dark, so it's a little forgiving looking if it gets a little dirty. Yeah, but it's also cheap. Or let me rephrase. Let me say it used to be cheap.
Inexpensive,
inexpensive is the word. It used to be inexpensive. It's kind of the part of the industry that's faded off to just a handful of manufacturers. And I'm not going to equate it too much to like the LP. Like the LP album went out, the vinyl album now it's coming back a little, and it's specialty people are making it, and it's super expensive. But it's a little like that. There's just a few manufacturers doing it, and the raw material costs and the energy costs have gone up so much that it's no longer the cheap option. It used to be Dow or American Only and Quarry or Summit
Metropolitan.
Quarry. Metropolitan was.
I thought it was very interesting. Like over the last year, we added it to our catalog, the quarry tile.
It's amazing. It truly, yeah, and it's real popular. And I think if it was as mainstream as it used to be, I don't think Tilbar would have taken it on.
Agreed.
Because all these other manufacturers are out there putting it out there. And then slowly as the availability in the factory started, waning off, it turned out that there was a void in this where it used to be such a commodity item that wouldn't be a product for Tilbar because it's such a commodity item. But now, because of that, it is, and it's selling really well. We actually have a supply chain. Like sometimes we can't get enough of it. Really.
Yeah. Well, I got you off topic. We're not here to talk about quarry tile. We're here to talk about terracotta.
Yeah.
And the terracotta look. So a natural terracotta. Can you use that outside, John?
Depends on where you live. And it made me think, I do remember speaking to a factory called Seneca Tile, and I had suggested that they call their quarry tile American Terracotta, like they should trademark it. American Terracotta. And I don't think they ever did that. They should have
done that. Hashtag American Terracotta.
Yeah, I think that would have been great. So your question was if you can use this anywhere, you can use it outside. If you live in Mexico or some really hot environments, yes, absolutely. If you're in a cold environment where what we call in the industry freeze-thaw scenarios, the tile needs to be freeze-thaw stable. Can you tell us what that means, Craig?
Yeah, freeze-thaw stable is it's just part of the technical specification that means your tile will not fail if it has a high moisture content due to the environment. So for instance, you've got your very porous tile outside and it rains and that tile gets completely soaked with rainwater. And then before it has the chance to dry out, it freezes. And we all know that when water freezes, it becomes ice and it expands. So that creates a failure in a tile. the freeze thaw kind of line is all to do with the density of the material. The more dense the tile, the less moisture it will absorb. So therefore, it makes it freeze thaw compliant.
Got it. So basically, there's a test of some sort where you freeze it and you thaw it, and if it didn't fall apart and crumble, it's considered stable. And I guess
you got to introduce moisture. That's the key.
Yes. Okay. Got it.
I have questions. Obviously, Tilbar is a large company, and I deal with reps all across the nation, which are in many different climate zones. And if you're in Texas, freeze thaw is not necessarily a big deal. But also, if you're in an area like where John's from in the north, if you have a product that is not freeze thaw compliant, but it's not outside to where the moisture is, it probably will be okay.
Yeah, so that's a good point. But also, you could be like Florida just this week, right? Had like freezing temperatures in certain places. So you just need that one instance. So you have to really be insulated to you don't want that one time it freezes overnight and there's moisture in there.
And the key to it, especially on vertical situations, you don't want moisture getting into your system anyway. So you got to protect your system by using the right thing. And now if it's on the floor, there's really no protection if it's outside.
So the look is really nice. So if you see some of the product, there's a terracotta look. And when you think of terracotta, most people think of the color. And there's plenty of fabrics and paints and things that are called.
So you're saying that there's terracotta and terracotta look, which just means that it's got the look and the feel of a natural terracotta.
Yeah, well, it's a few things. If you speak to a designer or that not necessarily who's thinking about tile, you say the word terracotta, they think of just a clay color. Right. It's used. So sometimes terracotta is used as a color description. Like sometimes people, there's a paint called Sedona and they're thinking of the red clay. So, so if you look through here, one of the things that are kind of consistent is that red clay brownish color. Yeah. Other thing that's consistent or almost consistent is it's usually not a super clean look. Now there was two tiles right there. Stop there. Right there. The one in the middle and the one to the right, that's a super clean look, meaning it's not like varied. And and the one to the right that kind of has that curve and a little point to it. That's those are like refined materials, but most terracotta looking products are square or hexagon and a lot of variation within the box. So that tile right in the middle and the tile to the left, you'll see shading.
A lot of shading, a lot of variation.
Yeah, and that's deliberate. Because that's how real terracotta. Oh, so let me say to people here, what you're looking at now is not real terracotta; it's porcelain. And so when we talk about terracotta in the industry, or when a client is asking for terracotta, my first thing is, are you really looking for real terracotta? Now, I've learned if you're dealing with somebody who's designing something, not to even immediately ask them, do they want real terracotta or not? I just asked them, so why are you asking for this? Is it the look? And usually it's the color. And then we could talk about performance and availability and sizes. And those are reasons why you would pick real terracotta versus porcelain terracotta. Because porcelain terracotta is, performance-wise, is light years away from real terracotta. So it really depends on that. Look at that. It's beautiful.
Well, I see the way, I don't know why we're organized this way. It looks this one.
Yeah. It's all mixed in. There's the chevron patterns. So the real terracotta is really very crude looking. It's usually 12 inches square. And oftentimes, it's not glazed. It's literally just a raw surface. And that's where Craig needs to jump in, and help people. Like, how do you seal it? How do you protect it? It used to be a really big deal, a really big part of the industry. There are guys who specialized in staining. You can actually stain this terracotta like you would a wood like you would a wood floor, not with the same material, but where you could change the color, you could pickle wash it, right? You had to acid wash it, you could linseed oil. It's really, those are kind of like old terms. Not many people are doing that, but the style has come back. The colors have come back because, as we know, white and grays are no longer like king and queen like they were,
Yeah, everything's warming up a bit now. It was weird when you're under the terracotta thing. A lot of those, which I'm not sure how the website's organized, most of them were the porcelain tiles. I had to kind of separate it. So this is a natural terracotta. Yeah. And you're right, John. The terracotta can come glazed, unglazed. Some of it comes pre-sealed. Some of it doesn't. So technically, if you're looking at getting one of these materials, I would definitely do a couple of tests and see once it comes in, see how absorbent it is. It definitely is gonna need a sealer, possibly even need a grout release before you grout. Because the last thing you want to do is have your grout infiltrate and it look messy. So doing a couple of tests, the water drop test, you drop a little droplet of water on it, and if it absorbs quickly, then you know that everything is going to absorb quickly. And so,
you know what, Craig, it makes me think, as you're talking, I'm thinking about a similar conversation we have with marble, right?
Yeah.
So real marble or porcelain looking marble, terracotta or porcelain looking terracotta.
I got another one for you.
Yeah.
Terrazzo or porcelain looking terrazzo.
Oh, yeah. So exactly. So originally, why the real stuff was used, because the only way you can achieve a look that it looks real is by using the real stuff.
Correct.
And by putting out a tile that looks like marble, years ago, it still looked hokey because you have one piece of tile, say a 12 by 12 tile with a green marble, let's say with a white vein in the corner. Looks nice, tile.
Sure.
Not real. But then you put 480 of them down and they have the same vein in the corner, in every corner, and it looks horrible. So that's the reason people would go.
Welcome to my Chinese buffet.
Sorry, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I had that in our town.
I probably can't say that, can I? Can you say that?
You can. You just did.
Okay.
I remember the Asian buffet near my house. I'll just protect myself. Was on the outside of the building, vertically, had a green marble porcelain, with the vein in the corner, ceramic. But anyway, the technology has advanced so much where we're able to make the terrazzo, the terracotta, the marble look in a porcelain that's a high performing product and not look hokey. And
hundreds of different faces.
Yeah, exactly. Still, you and I could walk in a room in 4 seconds, just immediately identify if something's natural or not. And then other people can or cannot. So it really depends. It depends on your budget. Mm-hmm. It's also a commitment. If you get marble, terrazzo, or terracotta, there is some installation differences in installing it. There's sealing costs involved. Maybe maintenance may change.
Yeah.
So why would someone want to use the real stuff, Craig?
Well, I mean, there's a couple different things. I mean, some people are just pretentious and they want what they want. I tell you, one of the things about terracotta tile and Satillo tile is the environmental impact. It holds heat really well. Yeah. So it's where you think normally tile is cold underfoot. These tiles are warmer underfoot. So that is a part of it. They're also just unique. You've got that handmade look. You've got that artisanal look, which then can cause some installation problems if you don't have a qualified installer and you're not managing expectations.
Yeah, I call it. I have this conversation often with. I'm in Manhattan dealing with somebody, and I just straight with them that it's someone who can afford anything they want.
Yeah,
and they ask me the question, well, what do I want? Do I want porcelain? Do I want real marble? Let's say if we're talking about marble, and I straight out tell them it's a snob factor.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying in general, if you're concerned about building that house in the Hamptons and you want to list in the listing that you have, marble from Italy in there, and then use marble from Italy, knowing that there may be some maintenance, but no big deal. They can afford it. You can, and it's not like those are products that high demand of maintenance. And also, when you are dealing with the natural material, be it, let's take it another step further, wood. We have tile that looks like wood. Why use real wood versus porcelain wood? There's no way you could look at a natural floor and not say, wow, this is amazing, right? So some of the replicas are good, and some of them are great.
And I tell you, and if you can get past the benefits of a porcelain tile are for maintenance, durability, all those things are far outweigh. So John, we talked a lot about terracotta. I want to bring up one more thing before we head off here. And we always talk about managing expectations. You were talking about that with the design. One of the things that you're going to deal with, and I'm going to bring up this picture here. Notice on this 3x6 terracotta, none of those are the same.
Right. And I tell people you pay extra for that. And I
That's
turn
right.
around and go, not kidding. So when you have a marble that has variations, imperfections, or you have a terracotta tile like this, that's irregular. And the tile guys, if he's a novice or a do-it-yourself, he's like, oh, this tile's crap. I'm like, no, this was $50 a foot. It's handmade, and you're paying extra for that.
So what do you think that group of 6 tiles would look like if it were only had an 1/8 of an inch joint between it?
Well, it wouldn't look good. So, I mean, first, that's a little too much grout there. That's like 3 feet of grout.
That's right. Yeah. Agreed.
I would say a 1/4 inch grout joint would probably be
Quarter
recommended.
to 3/8. I mean, a lot of these terracottas, you notice how none of the corners are square, and what that does is when you have a tile that's irregular, if you try to tighten up the joints, your installation can get out of level and out of plumb really quick. And so by widening the joints and understanding that there's variations, popping lines, as we talked about before in our past podcast, doing a dry layout and making sure you know where you're going and what you're doing, you can make this look really good. But if you go and try to install this like a 3x6 subway tile, you may not get paid.
Right. And the good news is with a terracotta tile, a big grout joint is expected to be the look.
That is part of the look, yes.
So, because we could give the suggestion to put a big grout joint, and it's very forgiving, and the tile guys love that, and that's great. But we could also give that same suggestion for a marble porcelain. Let's put a 1/4 inch grout joint, but it looks like heck, because no real marble should be installed far apart. So the design intention of a marble look is to look seamless, to almost look like you put a slab of marble on the wall, even though the tiles were 12 by 24. You put them as close as you can, the veining, and then you grout it, and it looks almost like one big slab of marble. That's the design intent. Terracotta tile is intended to look like individual tiles with a lot of variation, and you're going to get that. So in a way, it's a little harder to install because it's irregular, even in thickness and all that stuff, and you need to seal it. But in a way, it's easier because there's no demand on you to put it. If someone says, I want a terracotta grout, I want a terracotta tile, and I want no grout joint, which people say all the time for all the other tiles, then they have to like step back and say, what are you talking about? Like, that's not a thing.
Yeah. Managing expectations, which, do that as far in advance as you can. I like the terracotta. I like the look. And I'm glad it's kind of come back. I hope it stays for a little bit.
Yeah. And especially with the porcelains, because some people just aren't cut out for the real stuff. You need the better installer and all that stuff, and longevity and wear patterns. So I like the fact that it's come back, but it's come back because the porcelains look so real. You can get the look and you get the performance out of it. But I would never discourage anyone to do a real terracotta as long as they know what they're in for. Yeah. So check out the website. Look around. People see all the products that are offering with big tiles, small tiles, hexagons, rectangles,
And just remember, at tilbar.com, you can get 5 samples for $5 shipped right to your house. So, I mean, $5. I mean, that is less expensive than your Loca Matacati.
Exactly.
coffee.
Hey, have you ever seen bouncing off a previous episode about mosaics, you ever seen a terracotta mosaic?
I don't know that I have.
I haven't seen it. One of the main reasons is I guess you could say it's not the look, but it's also sometimes it's like so irregular or it's it's weird to mount. But if we do have a terracotta tile in a porcelain, then it's feasible to have a corresponding mosaic. Sometimes we do, many times we don't, because people aren't calling for a mosaic. But I just was wondering about that.
I've never seen it, but but great information. So once again, find your favorite tile at tilebar.com, and of course look for the terracotta. If you have questions and want John to help you with the design, or want me to help you with how to install it, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. If you see some terracotta in the wild, John, what's our hashtag today?
Oh, just terracotta tile. Love it.
Terracotta tile.
Terracotta tile. If you see something that looks like terracotta, if something is terracotta, take a picture with you in it holding terracotta, or just a picture and send it to us. Use the hashtag terracotta happy hour as well. We're giving out gifts all the time for people who are sending us pictures. Any type of participation in the tile happy hour, be it a comment online.
There's a chance to win.
Yes. So you say there's a chance. So yes, there is a chance. We got some tile nerd swag that we've been giving out. And don't be shy. Try to comment. Let us know where you're watching from. We would love that. So send us a comment. Our tags, whatever you call them. At the Tile Nerd Army, John Tedisco. We're on all sorts of social media stuff, right? Here we go.
Right there.
Let us know. So,
absolutely. And we got great topics coming up. 2025 is starting off with a bang, and we're excited what's going to happen this year.
This is true. Lots of guests. We have guests coming on. Oh, yeah. You know what? If you're watching this show and you could think of somebody really interesting, dynamic in the industry, tell them about our show. Tell them to drop us a line. We are booking up throughout the year now for special guests to come on, which you're going to see soon on this broadcast, really, really soon. So terracotta, love it. Real porcelain, whatever. It's a nice design. Glad we could talk about it, Craig. And this is John Tedisco, and I'd like to wish you peace, health, and happiness.
And this is Craig. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you, and keep learning together, and let's tile the world.